Dumb, stupid, silly watch. 6 kilometer depth rating, too heavy, too thick, too $13,000. But it does look good though, man, shoot. People have been asking me to look at this Omega Planet Ocean Ultra Deep for about a year now, and I guess on paper it didn't really interest me, because of all the dumb stuff I said earlier. But I got the opportunity and I said, why not? I mean, when have YouTube comments ever been wrong? And this is only possible thanks to Watch Bites. Watch Bites is a new weekly email newsletter that covers watch industry news and interesting watches for sale on different sites, and even some watch humor, which kind of feels like, maybe stay in your own lane, Watch Bites. Watch Bites isn't giving me any money or anything, they just loaned me this watch, and I've been enjoying the emails, and you might too, and that's all. Not everything is a conspiracy. But some things are conspiracies. A little company called Omega has been conspiring for a long time, trying to get people who wear dress socks to want and to buy deep dive watches. Watches they have no business owning, watches that have no practical function, watches that cost about the same as the average global household income. No joke. If that's upsetting to you, good. How do you think I feel then after a week of wearing this ridiculous thing and kinda sorta loving it? So thanks for that. The Ultra Deep was announced in March of last year, 2022. As I kind of said, I was not interested. I have and love my Omega Pro Prof, I wear it a lot. So I'm not opposed to the oversized and unnecessary, some might even call me that, in fact. But a Planet Ocean that someone just scaled up in Photoshop? Lord, why? This watch costs $12,700. It's 45.5 millimeters wide, 18 millimeters thick, and 52 millimeters long. The bezel is made of ceramic with liquid metal inlays. On the bracelet, this weighs a whopping 254 grams. It has 22 millimeter lugs and has a depth rating of 6,000 meters, 6 kilometers, that's almost 20,000 feet. This is designed for saturation diving. That's not swimming down to a depth and then back up again. Saturation diving means going down in a DSV, a dive support vehicle, and living there for a time, and then venturing out into the water to do work once you're acclimated. The rule for decompression for coming back up to the surface is that it takes about 1 day of decompression per 100 feet of depth in salt water. So if someone went to the depth that this watch is rated for, if they go to 20,000 feet in a saturation dive, that person would have to wait 1,600 days of decompression time. That's more than 4 years, so nobody is doing that unless they're running from the law or ignoring their Instagram DMs. Now, people have gone deeper in the ocean, but not in a saturation dive and not into the water themselves. James Cameron went down to almost 24,000 feet, but in a pressurized submersible, not saturation. So then this watch, what makes this different from other saturation dive watches is that it does not have a helium escape valve. So when you're doing that kind of dive, you're breathing a mixture of helium and oxygen. It's called helox. And yes, because there's helium in what you're breathing, it does make your voice change.
It really does.
And that helium can get inside of a watch and make it break open on decompression if it doesn't have a good way of getting out safely. That's why Rolex introduced a helium escape valve on the Sea Dweller in 1967, and why Omega Seamasters have that ugly-ass crown at 10 o'clock. But what Omega did with the first Pro Prof was make a watch case that was so tight and tough that helium never even got in at all. That resulted in a huge tank of a watch. Seiko did the same thing with the Tuna, and that's exactly what happened here too. No helium escape valve equals a large watch. Now, is it too absurdly large? Yes. Well, no, yeah, yes. And maybe not. The circumference of my wrist will fit 34,286 times into the 20,000 feet depth rating of this watch. I know that you know that means my wrist is 7 inches around. You're very good at math. And from the top down, this 45.5 millimeter wide case that's 52 millimeters long, it doesn't look that bad. And even the 18 millimeter thickness, it's not terrible. It's not ideal, but it's not the worst. The biggest issue is the weight, and that's the situation with a lot of big watches. It's not the size that counts, it's the heft, or that's what I've been told. 254 grams is literally massive, and I was sure I couldn't wear this comfortably for an entire day. And I was wrong. I've worn this watch for full days, several days in a row. I even went disc golfing with this watch on. So that's a sport where you hike through the woods and look for your lost frisbee. I mean, that's the way I play it. All that, and I did not have a problem with comfort, and I was really surprised. I certainly felt this watch on my wrist at all times, and I have developed some new muscles as a result, but I never felt like I had to take this off. The balance of the watch had a lot to do with that. This reference comes on a thick and heavy bracelet, which sounds like it would only make things worse, but I think it does the opposite. And the bracelet tapers nicely, which is not the situation with some Omega dive watches. And then there's an adjustment system in the huge clasp here. You can change the length of the bracelet with a button, and it's nice, but it should ratchet. The clasp on my Ploprof allows you to shorten the length without taking the watch off your wrist. It seems like a big little miss that the Ultra Deep doesn't do this. And you know what? This should also be titanium. There is an Ultra Deep in titanium, but it doesn't come on a bracelet, and you can't even put a bracelet on it because it has fixed lugs. If there's any Omega watch that should be titanium with a titanium bracelet, it's the Ultra Deep. Instead, this watch is made of stainless steel, but not just any stainless steel. It's the proprietary Omega steel.
Omega steel.
It's supposed to be twice as scratch resistant as normal stainless steel and stronger, and it's supposed to be brighter, like whiter. I don't know. Here's my old Rolex bracelet that's made of 904L steel, and maybe I see the difference, or maybe the Omega just has finer finishing and it's newer. I don't know, and honestly, I don't care. What I do care about is how this looks, and I really like it. The gradient dial is very pretty, especially with the light blue accents on the dial and on the tip of the seconds hand. The 12, 3, 6, and 9 look really good to me, and I like that this does not have a date. When I compare this to the standard Planet Ocean watches, those dates, they look thoughtless, like, guys, we forgot to put the date on the dial. Just put it anywhere, but make sure you put that helium escape valve at 10 o'clock. Can't live without that. I've tried this Ultra Deep on a few straps with varying success. They look okay, but the issue is the thickness. With a bracelet or strap that's not integrated to the case, you really see the main barrel of the case from below, and it's not great. It's not awful though, and it is comfortable, but a little top heavy. Inside the Ultra Deep is the Omega Caliber 8912. It's certified by COSC as a chronometer and by Metas as a master chronometer. That means this watch will be accurate to 0 to plus 5 seconds a day or better. That also means that it's resistant to magnetism up to 15,000 Gauss. So if you were wondering if you could take your magnet collection to the bottom of the ocean, this is the watch for you. Like many or maybe all new Omega watches, this has a jumping hour hand. It's really nice for changing time zones, but for a daily wear, I'm not really sure about it. You basically have to set the hours and minutes separately when setting the watch from a cold start. It's extra work. The watch is extra everything. Extra heavy, extra thick, wide, long, expensive, extra deep. No, excuse me, Ultra Deep. I don't like it, but I do. I do like it. I really like it. The extra is fun, and it's not just fun, but it's good looking. And I'm not really impressed with all the ultra depth stuff, though I respect it. The thing I'm really impressed with is that this is wearable. To me, that's a greater and more impactful accomplishment. The wearability and the fact that Omega changed my mind about a watch. And as Mrs. You're Terrific knows, changing my mind, that's humankind's greatest challenge.